Well, hey, everybody, this is Don with the Vlog of Many Things, and with me, we have a full panel tonight. To my right is
10 card, folks.
down below,
Tom?
and down to the bottom.
Steve.
We're kind of like the Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch. Jan.
It's always Jan. It's always Jan. Oh, well.
Oh, Tenkar.
Oh. Well, tonight we're going to talk about a couple different things. Yeah, probably. 10 car. What the hell? Hey, what? You know what it is? It's Thursday night. We're going to talk a little about D&D. We got a couple things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk a little bit about D&D and going to answer a question. I have an argument I think is pretty intriguing about, is really Dungeons & Dragons worse off than it was back when we were playing at our prime? I see a couple puzzled looks, a couple of, oh crap, he's bringing that up. But trust me, this is going to be an interesting conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about tabletop events. What a great site. I like it a lot. Scott, how you doing? Thaddeus, how you doing? Victory Lane Exotics. Bill, how you doing? Oh, boy. And a little bit about publishing. Publishing your game. Mr. Lake's specialty or novel, should I say. So, let's talk a little bit about D&D, shall we, gentlemen?
Of course.
All right. Now, among older gamers of the 50-some-odd-year-old field, which everybody in this square for meet, would probably say that D&D is worse off today than it was back in, like, let's just choose a date, 1982. The peak of AD&D.
Okay.
Who agrees with that statement here?
Yeah, I just kind of went downhill after that.
Okay. Tom?
Yeah,
Come on, you got to make an opinion, buddy. You can't walk the wall. You can't draw the fence. Don't walk the fence.
I don't know if it's worse off. I think that I think the company managing it has its head up its butt.
Yes.
And I largely think that modern players, you'd have to say, well, modern players want what Wizards is doing. And I don't really think so. I think that modern players are I've met 12-year-old modern players.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I was just kind of asking.
I'm just kind of asking. Murder hobo as we were back in the day.
Well, we're going to get all into that. I just want to kind of get general ideas. Eric, your opinion? Is it better?
Yeah, because 82 was before the Unearthed Arcana, right? I mean, I liked the Unearthed Arcana at the time, but man, I would nerf 85. I just checked. 85. So okay. Yeah, 82 was still good.
Rob,
85.
Well, we got some nice people in here tonight. We're gonna have some good comments. Okay, now let me throw something out here that's probably gonna be a little controversial. I disagree fully with all of you. I think D&D is just fine. D&D 5.5 is just fine, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Want to know why?
Because it ain't D&D.
Yes, it is D&D.
Oh, yeah, damn it.
Now, let me tell you something here, okay? Real quick. Thaddeus, let's get some comments that way. Thaddeus says, I would argue that's not even the same game as an apple to orange comparison. And Dark Winter says, when will they remember a medieval game has no transgenders except for changelings? Okay. Let's get into this. I think there's been a couple of comments. Now, let me tell you the reason why I think that D&D is probably just fine for now. Is I was of the opinion a few weeks ago that D&D was really steadily going downhill. Okay? But I noticed something online that WotC's doing. And what WotC's doing is they're now putting out more and more of these shorts. These little short videos, 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And they have a Wizards of the Coast employee who has worked on D&D kind of say something that they like about D&D. And these are all people who have worked on D&D. And I know this is a really common thread. What they are is they are largely 20-somethings. And the reason why that kind of got my mindset changing a little bit is because I remember when AD&D 2.0 came out, second edition.
Right.
People were screaming. They screwed up D&D. They ruined it. They changed it. What are they doing? Yada, yada, yada. And now what? Second edition probably accurately would be one of the most popular editions out there, easily.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And I think instead the way to look at this is to say maybe D&D is not the okay, D&D 5 point or 5e or 5.5, what do you want to call it, isn't the kind of game I would play as a player. I'm more of an AD&D kind of player, or a BECME or a Beck player, whatever you want to call it. But I really don't foresee anything patently wrong with it, because what they're doing is they're doing exactly what they did with second and third and such, is they are pandering and developing to their audience, is what they are. And you cannot blame a company that does that, because let's face one thing about AD&D. I challenge anybody to tell me that game's perfect. That game is so riddled with rule inconsistency, screw ups, misdone rules, editing issues.
Isn't there a table for harlots in AD&D?
Oh, well, you know what? Real quick, Edward Kopp, how you doing, Ed? Edward, by the way, I got that fixed in your event for WizardCon. He says D&D is a brand is doing well. Yes, I think D&D is a brand. Dark Winter says also wait for it to be released and then see how it's reviewed. Well, 5.5 is actually getting very positive reviews and very negative reviews. And if you take a look at the positive and negative, it's all age-based and mostly generational. Edward Kopp goes on.
Yes and no. Yes and no. There's some YouTubers out there that have reviewed 5.5 and they've given it a positive, and I was like, I wasn't expecting you to say that, but yeah.
But Edward goes on and says, people forget that the vast majority of any market are not connoisseurs. They want their generic entertainment. And then Fugly says it was perfectly imperfect. And then St. Cuthbert says, sorry, I'm late. Can you please start over from me?
No.
And then Edward Kopp says, having worked in luxury markets, you only care about the people you know are going to go sell to. You are either moving volume or high profit items. And then Thyatis says, pandering and developing to their audience. No, they're attempting to reconfigure their audience, one that has yet to be proven truly exists or is mostly astroturf. This remains to be seen.
Amen. Preach it, Thyatis.
See, I disagree with that. And the reason why I disagree with it is because I go to a lot of gaming shops locally. We have quite a few, thankfully, now in my area. And every time I go in, I see a vast mixture of age groups and people playing D&D. And when you walk up to the table, what are 99% of them playing?
5e 2014.
Because 5.5 has not been out that long, and 5.5 is not fully out yet.
Oh, Eric, you're muted.
The Monster Manual is out. 5.5 is out. Mm-hmm. However, the issue with 5.5 is, from Lotzi's point of view, remember, they need to monetize not just the DMs, but the players, which is why Project Sigil is now an open beta. But if you really want to use it, you got to be a master tier D&D Beyond subscriber. So that's where they're seeing their future money from. Remember, they're from Microsoft. They've got the subscription idea, and that's what they're banking on.
And you know what? Adobe did it with Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, etc., etc. Corel who I use a lot of Corel, swore that they'd never do that. And what's Corel doing now? Subscription based also. And they do it for a reason. They don't have to have the production issues, the storage issues, the importation issues. They don't have to sit there and deal with the mailing of it and all that. If they can get you to go online and play the game or download the PDFs, that's very cost effective to them and makes sense on a business standpoint. I mean, am I correct or wrong? I mean,
no,
it's good from a business standpoint. I just want to say I approve of St. Cuthbert's adult beverage choice.
Yeah. Dark Winter says, I can see that set be bought and then used however they want, but not 5.5 since some of those maps look fine. I just wish they ditched the modern rubbish. But see, the thing is this. Okay, real quick. Let's talk about modern rubbish here. All right. We all did a video on the dwarves, the scene with the dwarves with the sandals and the braids that match and all that. Okay. Yeah. But I guess as a player, okay, and I'm going to out myself. I'm a 57-year-old guy who develops D&D games type materials, and I play it. If I don't like 5.5 or 5e, I can play any other edition I want. I have all my books. They can't take my books away from me.
Nope.
And
they're all right there.
Yeah, and what I see on people is I see people basically sitting on their front porch and saying, "Damn it, get off my fucking lawn, kids," type thing.
Quarter. You just said the F word.
Darn it, I said the F word. Jeez, sorry.
Dan.
You can send me the quarter. Oliviana will put it in her.
Listen, we're all true to our own nature, and that's okay.
Thaiatus says adoption rate is almost non-existent for the new edition, but really, do we know that for sure?
Well, actually, you can tell that if you look at D&D Beyond. If you look at D&D Beyond, the flex that they were making is literally that, and I'm not going to quote the exact, but it was 20% of our accounts have created one character for D&D 2024.
But see, all that tells you, but all that tells you, Eric, in all fairness, is that their online component is not doing well. That doesn't tell you that their book sales and
I'm not talking. Listen, people are completists. They're buying the books, but are they playing with the books? If they're not, if D&D Beyond, which is where WotC is putting their bank between Project Sigil and D&D Beyond, that is the billion-dollar IP, the brand that they're looking for. If that doesn't start producing, we may see D&D 6.0 sooner than later. Kind of how 4.0 shat the bed. 5.5 may not.
3 and then 3.5 and,
And Pathfinder 3.75. I know.
St. Cuthbert, yes, you are. And we finally, by the way, side note on WizardCon, we got all of the scheduling issues fixed today. All of the special guests have their badges, and events are now starting to propagate throughout the site. So Edward Kopp says, Hasbro wants to sanitize D&D for the online microtransactions. That's why content creators with their largest followings have seen the downfall of their channels, and guys like you are safe for now.
Well, I have to question that. Hasbro wants to sanitize D&D. Why did they put it into slot machines?
No.
Okay, first of all, they didn't.
Well, they licensed it to a company that put it in slot machines.
Well, but that is not going to be available to kids.
Fair enough, but they're not. They're making it. I call it vanilla, but that's an insult to vanilla. It's imitation vanilla, I guess I should be saying. But they're taking they're bringing it down to a point where we can't afford to offend anybody because we have been in a society for the last 5 to 10 years where everybody takes offense at slights that aren't intended. And WotC is aware of that, and they are bringing everything down to that position.
But yet they've offended people.
But you're offending people trying not to offend people.
Exactly. Well, yeah, but we don't matter. The old guys don't matter. Listen, the old white guys And
because we're not really fair. In all fairness, Eric, we're not their demographic.
That's how they refer to you.
We're basement trolls, according to Ray. Basement trolls.
That's how they refer to
Well,
you.
well, let me ask this question. Tom brings up the slot machine thing. Okay, I personally can't blame them. I'll give you an example. If Watsy came to Tom at Tabletop Tap Room and said, "I'll make you a deal. We want to license a Tabletop Tap Room game. We'll give you $5 million to do it." Tom, come on now. Let's just be honest.
Well,
would you stand forth and say, for another quarter?
I will quote my favorite movie quote, which is, "My hypocrisy knows no bounds."
Bingo. So, and that's essentially what they're doing is they have licensed Dungeons and Dragons to what? Something that will be in thousands of casinos.
And honestly, I'm a father with kids, so yeah, throw $5 million at me, and yeah.
Well, but not only that, let's also be honest. Those slot machines are being aimed at our generation. Okay, they're not being aimed at kids. They're being aimed at gamer. They're being aimed at the 50-year-old guy who was gaming back in the 80s, hasn't gamed in nearly 40 years, and goes, "Oh my God!" And it's gonna drag. Oh man, yeah.
But let's face it.
Let's go for it.
But in all truthfulness, if you went ahead and you took every single person who plays D&D regularly, and you put them in a football stadium, and then you took all the gamers, let's just say 35 and younger, and put them on one half of the stadium, and 36 and older on the other half, whether we all like to admit it or not, the 35 and unders would outnumber us quite a bit.
Yes.
And that's the market that they pander to because that's where they see their profitability the most at, I think.
Yeah, they're under monetized. They want to monetize more, so they're going to monetize the biggest segment of the market. That's a no-brainer. And let's face it, my D&D group, I cannot find Darren at all. I cannot even properly pronounce his last name or spell it, so I'm having trouble finding him online. Thad, Darren, a guy from my original D&D group, Darren, I can't locate him. Thad told me he gave away all his D&D books to his younger brother, who then sold them. So,
Rob,
but so yeah, like 2/3 of my original D&D group is out of the hobby, as far as I know. As far as I know, I mean. I
bet you if I looked at my old group, I'm probably the only one that still plays.
Well, it's like the custom home built pencil and paper RPG that we did when started it out in high school. There was 16 of us. When we quit about 2 or 3 years ago, there was 4 of us left, and the only reason we quit was one of the 4 was like, "I can't do this anymore," and it was 3 of us left, and we're like, "That not worth it anymore."
Yeah.
So.
Rob says, just a side note, D&D Beyond Map is a poor version of Roll20, and the Project Sigil is a poor version of Tailspire. Oh, interesting. for disclaimer here, I have not even looked at Project Sigil. Now I'm going to have to get online and go check it out.
They rolled it out quietly. They kind of...
Well, what they did was they invited people like me and Rob to the beta a week before they opened it up to everybody. So it was kind of like, why'd you bother?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
And it currently isn't for OSX. So I am.
Yeah. Well, Thaius says, Don, the online components what Hasbro is betting on. Absolutely they are. But I think that, to have a viable online component, you got to have viable product to be the basis of it.
Well, my first group, I had been away from D&D for a while, and when I found a group, they were playing 3.5, and one member of that group is still active in the hobby, and he is like, yeah, 5.5 is good. Not 5.5, but 5e is good. And he promotes 5e and he plays 5e, and which is funny because I was the guy that I was so sick of 3.5 being with slow combats. 4E came out. I said, let's try this. Let's just try this. And and they were all resistant, but now he's all like in on 5E, and he's like, it's a good game, and he loves it. And he's got a YouTube channel called "It's All D&D to Me," and he doesn't care about editions. He just loves D&D. And so I kind of get it, because he's a good friend and I love the guy, but he's gone all in on it, and I just cannot. Like Eric and I played in the same game at ShireCon, and I just looked at that 5e game and went, this is not how I want to play. This is just not
because
how
you are used to something else. And see, there's where it's at. I mean, it's okay to put this in an alcoholic standpoint. Not that I am one, but it's like if a person has their special brand of beer or rum that they like.
Hello, my name is Tom.
My name's Tom. I think the thing is that once you get used to something and you like it, it is very, very hard to break away from it, even if the other thing that is being presented to you is superior. And again, D&D, and I think this is where it's all at. D&D, yes, is again not my kind of product. It's not something that I would enjoy. 5e.
You like
D&D because I've tried it. I don't enjoy the game, but also, in all fairness, when I look at my AD&D book, or whatever you want to call it, it's actually a 3-ring binder because it has all my changes in it. It took almost 45 years of editing it and changing it and making rules seem like they make sense. You know what I mean? So it's just what you like and what you're used to.
Yeah, I get that. I never liked Scotch, and then my father was like, here, 15-year-old single malt Scotch, try this. Damn, that was smooth.
No, it wasn't. See, that's the whole point. I've had 25-year-old Scotch, and I think it tastes like freaking sour cat pee.
I don't
like Scotch. You do.
I don't like Scotch. I drink bourbon.
But you said it was smooth.
It's a real American drink. You can only make it in America.
And it's just it. I don't like bourbon. And I think this is a really good way of putting the analogy to it is, I love rum. You like bourbon. I've tried bourbon. I've tried multiple of them. I've had Buffalo Trace. I've had Van Winkles. I don't like it.
I like Buffalo Trace.
Yeah, I don't.
Well, I'm the odd man out. I don't drink at all. The stuff to me tastes like somebody burned a tree limb.
No,
well, there you go.
Get rid of him. Get rid of him. Next week he'll be gone. Trust me. We don't need no.
My wife calls what I drink paint varnish.
But the thing is I think where it all falls down to is, there's a valid argument to say they're ruining D&D, but they're ruining D&D based upon what the 4 people here are used to playing. But are they ruining D&D for the person who loves 5e and is used to 5e?
Let me comment on the comment on screen right now. Are the kids today buying 5.5? In the middle school, no. Because the middle school, the teacher's assistant who was running the D&D club, she bought all 2014 rule books. So they have a war chest of 2014 rule books that they bought with school money. And Don, I think you donated, and your buddy there, Wable.
Yeah, Rod donated.
Yeah, to the club.
Yep.
And it's and Scott Mulder. Let me forget Scott Mulder. I bought a third-party publisher thing with his money, and then brought it into the club and said this was a donation, sent to me. But the kids are playing 2014 5e. They're not playing 5.5.
But in all fairness, you're talking. My wife's a teacher. You're talking about a school, and those schools, once they have something, They're not going to be spending more money just to get the newest thing. They're going to stick with that. And probably if you went back, let's say if you went back 10 years from now, they'll be playing those same books unless somebody donates a new batch.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about D&D, about D&D 2024, is that unlike every other edition of D&D, which was billed as a new edition, even 3.5 had 3.5 on its cover. They're like, oh, it's the same game, just slightly different. And all your old material is compatible, but you can't mix the books. Yes, Rob. Arbitrary changes that are made.
The heck you can't.
To work with the software. Yeah. So it really.
Oh, I was just making a quip. He says you can't mix the books. I said, the heck you can't.
Well,
they just don't have to know about it.
And it's like Ghostbusters. You can't use the 2024 Monster Manual with the 2014 Player's Handbook and the 2014 DMG. They actually had a post about that. You can't mix it; it'll explode.
But see, what they did is they came out saying that it was backwards compatible completely, and it's not.
Right.
And
Kinda
see,
like
that's where. Well, the thing is, so what you have then is the more of the problem, I think, is the company. Because the company is shit.
The company
don't know how they're.
D&D is not the problem, honestly.
I don't see it as being a problem. I think it's a company that is knee-jerk reacting to social issues, to Twitter threads, to vloggers, and instead of going, I'll give you an example. Okay. If you have a company, a publishing company, a game publishing company as an example, or a book publishing company. Steve was involved with my other publishing company intimately. He worked for me, so he knows all about this part. Mm-hmm. If you see someone post something online that says publishing company X, did something bad to me, the worst thing that you can do is get online and go, no, we didn't, and start typing and doing and defending yourself. The best thing you can do is just to ignore it, keep going, and rest on your laurels. But what WotC's done is WotC's got on, and I think Twitter is the biggest one that they worried about is they made the mistake of starting a Twitter account and looking at all that crap. And then they start knee-jerk reacting and changing classes and changing and doing and changing artwork and, the thing with the orcs.
There's a long history of changing classes. I mean, when AD&D 2E came out, thieves were no longer thieves; they were rogues.
Yes.
And Osmodeus was gone. The devils were gone.
Yes.
From the monster manual. They sanitized it because of the satanic panic. So you could have bitched about that, and people probably did.
People did, but there was no internet. So if Don wanted to throw a frickin' fit, I had to sit around my local game shop and go, oh, that game sucks, or my gaming group, which I did. And guess what? It went as far as maybe the next door classroom, or maybe, but now with the internet, people can create a vlog, have 96 people watching it right now going, oh, these guys are saying something. The way to get your word out is quick now.
Well, and some of it, I wonder if it isn't a case of either I'm offended and I want the world to know, or I'm going to be a jerk and make everybody's life miserable by whining for something that isn't even a thing.
It's both.
Both.
Yeah.
All the above.
Yes.
Rob Conrad says, video game mentality. Thus, it is losing its distinctiveness as a tabletop role-playing game. It's the same fault of D&D 4E. I admit to a lesser degree, but it's the exact same issue that will sink it.
Well, at least they're not going to have a murder-suicide that's going to tank the VTT. That's true. That's what happened for you. By the way, I'm going to take a moment to tell everybody, look at the bottom of your screen. If you're watching at 10 Cards Tavern, there are 3 other YouTube channels that you should be adding and subscribing to. Okay?
Yes, please.
Please. We do this. We all have our own channels, and you're watching. We all do other material and other content. Please subscribing is easy. Take a moment after the show to subscribe to another channel or two. That's all I'm saying.
Very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Real quick, back to Rob's comment. He makes a very good point here. He says, then there's the arbitrary lore changes, like making merfolk and lizardfolk elementals. No, think about this. Making merfolk and lizardfolk elementals.
Well, now
you're going to get me bitching about D&D 5e. Thanks, Rob.
You have to do away with humanoids. Humanoids no longer exist.
Who let Rob in the room?
So you have to peg them somewhere. You got to move them all to another grouping.
They said, he says, continuing the side note, their mini designer is a poor version of Hero Forge with Tailspire interfaces with it. That's actually pretty interesting. I gotta check that out. Half my original group have passed on, Terry R says. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry to hear that.
That would be not me 50%, but close to it at this point in time. Of course, that being said, about a third of my class died off within the first 5 years after we graduated from high school, so that didn't help any. Yeah.
Oh, what's in the freaking water out of Marshall, Michigan? What the hell?
I know, right?
Thank God I only drank coffee when I had my publishing company open there. God, the Abrams effect of changing stuff to make their mark. And Rob also says the problem with apply video game logic to RPG is like that, or is like video game. Once you played the game enough, you're done. Either drop it or move on to another game. But I think what they're counting on, Rob, is they're counting on the fact that using the AI will make it unique every time someone plays.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Fugly says subscription fees are targeted at two groups. The first is a fully invested and will use it all the time, and the other is the casual sign up and they're counting on them forgetting and just playing. Well, absolutely. Or just forgetting they have a subscription.
That's what they're hoping for.
Yep. Rob Conley says, in contrast, the focus of RPG taps in what I call the soap opera effect, focusing on bringing adventures to life engages as the player in a way that makes them keep coming back for one more session. Excuse me.
Mm-hmm.
And then St. Cuthbert, orcs are still evil. Damn right.
Preach it, brother. Preach it.
Yeah. And my orcs have tusks and they have pig noses. Sorry, it's just the way an orc is.
Yeah.
Edward Kopp says, how do you drink your coffee? Do you try different styles every time? Do you eat for breakfast, lunch, during the week? Do you have a rotation? I drink realistically, but easily a two cup and a half to 2 pots a day.
I used to drink that much.
I still have a half a cup right here, which I'll finish by the end of the
I
night.
have a cup right now because I'm toddler exhausted, so I figured I'd brew some.
I drink coffee straight black, and when I go to my daughter's Starbucks, 6-shot Americano every single time.
Yeah, don't give me anything with caffeine in it. I'm ADD, so that stuff just puts me to sleep.
Don't give them anything like that.
Black and bitter. Like that.
Edward Kopp says, I thought I was a Scotch drinker until I moved to Kentucky.
Ooh.
Yeah. Fogey says, now there's specialized apps. Just find those unused subscription order, cancel them. A whole new market. Yeah. Rob says, where gaming generations matter is the types of adventures that excite them, what they want to see brought to life. I think here Rob makes a really good point, and I think that's the core. This is the core of my entire argument here. Listen, in my game of D&D, orcs are very vile, nasty, evil beings.
Mm-hmm.
They do very bad things to human settlements. I won't get into them because it'll offend some people probably, but that's what they do. And in my game, you can die. It just happens. Especially when you're dumb and you do dumb things and you don't take the hints by the DM. But in my game, people die. But in a lot of games, and by the way, if you don't like giant spiders, then don't play my game. I'm not trying to be a jerk here. I don't do the whole session 0 and would you please list down the topics that will offend you and make you cry, because and I'm not trying to be a jerk here, people. I'm being serious, and it's just I'm trying to keep a straight face while I say this too. You're not helping a bit, world. The thing is here is, I just don't play into this. And again, I know that there are sensitive people today, okay? But I just don't play into it. Not in my game.
So you don't run around as an orc with a rainbow battle axe?
No, I don't. It's not even that. To me, what I don't
that's
do
a picture.
what I don't do is I don't worry
And a
about.
sombrero.
Okay, does death bother you? Yes. Okay, so since death bothers you, you're playing a fantasy-based game where there's monsters, spells, traps, and bad things, and I'm not supposed to have death in it. Oh, you don't like
No.
spiders, so I'm not supposed to talk about giant spiders in my game. Oh, and I'm going to be mean here. Oh, you had a family member unfortunately pass away. Well, so have I. But you know what? There's zombies in my game. And it's not because I disrespect those people. It's just because it is a native part of the game.
Mhm.
And I know that it offends people. I know that I'm probably going to get some shit comments on this video after I say that, but it's just the way it is. It's just part of the game. But it's a part of Don's game. Now, if you want to have your game and you want to have session 0 and you want to say, here's a sheet, check off everything that offends you, then do so. You're great, have fun. And no, have fun, enjoy yourself. I'm not offended. But if I'm at your table, I'm not going to play it if that's how that game is going to go.
I had a game with the wife, and in the game, the were rat was the big bad. There was a were rat who was the big bad, and he was kidnapping small children and turning them into were rats because they're
A
chaotic.
very cool trope.
And and so when she got down into the dungeon and she got into the thing, the were rat actually sacrificed the child that she was looking for to this rat demon, and so the rat demon just like ripped the child apart in front of her, and I thought, oh my god, this is really gruesome. She did not react, and we're talking about an educator who loves children. So it was really, I just on a whim went grim dark with that game, real left turn Clyde, and we just went grim dark on that game real quick, and the players loved it. The players actually loved it.
My wife has an interesting comment. Oh god, my wife's watching our video. Oh, she says my district has kids playing 2 nights a week and they have their own books. I'm actually going to get with her later on. I'm going to find out what edition these kids are playing. My guess is 5e. And this one right here is having his Facebook PM permissions taken away from him for the next hour.
Listen, there is only one useful use of AI art, and that is to take something that the gentleman below me thought of and see what Grok could do in like 10 seconds.
Grok, isn't Grok Twitter's or X's?
Yes,
AI thing?
yeah. I find I like Grok when it comes to this stuff. It understands better.
Elon Musk
with fewer words.
Elon Musk. Oh my god.
3E.
But Don, you could show one of them. I think that they are fine. They brought up the rainbow axe wielding orc. I just thought I'd
and scone baking dwarves.
Ebercop says it's not the game or the rules. Don is right. Ever since WotC bought D&D, they have no idea how to make money from it. And I think the problem with WotC is, I think when you have leadership that fundamentally does not understand, and I've said this before, when you have leadership that fundamentally does not understand their product or how the product works, that's where they're running into problems. And my guess is the leadership of WotC has no idea how to play D&D.
I would guarantee it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My AI is great with my D. I do all my adventures with AI. That was the president of Hasbro, right? Or WotC, whatever that jackass was.
Well, the thing is with these companies, when they look at these products, they're not like, oh, it's D&D and we had fun playing and stuff. No, it's like, show me the money, baby. I don't care about the rest. That's all they care.
Rick Anderson comments, he says, no, it's getting better. I will say it's playable. It's just that there are a lot of better TTRPG options, many of them being the OSR or retro clone variety. Myself, I find Basic Fantas.
Shadow Dark.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Shadow Dark is a really good game. And that's another point I make is why is everybody so? And I kind of know the answer to this, but I'll throw it out there. Why are so many people thinking that they have to play D&D when there's so much good stuff out there besides D&D?
Well, Professor Dungeon Master said, look, if it has armor class, a D20, and strength, intelligence, wisdom, dexterity, constitution, charisma, it's D&D. He doesn't care what edition you're playing. He doesn't care what retro clone or what third party publisher you're playing. He says it's D&D, and I would tend to agree with that. And the fact that D&D is now put into the Creative Commons, 5e is effectively in Creative Commons, I would just say D&D belongs to us, and right there for WotC. Who cares anymore, honestly?
Well, I mean, I guess the thing is Edward Kopp says, what? I went to Harper Creek. Harper Creek's a local school district.
Yeah. What year though did he go, or what graduate in? I should say, because I was class of '91.
You didn't go to Harper Creek. You went to Marshall.
No, I went to Harper Creek.
You told me you went to Marshall.
No, I lived in Marshall, but I went to Harper Creek because I was in. Remember, I'm ADD. I was autistic, so I went to the special ed program at Harper Creek because they were the only one that had one.
Oh, okay. Did not know that.
Yeah.
I went to a Catholic school.
Uh-oh.
Let's see here.
We had like 5 D&D players in a school of 500.
Rick says this. He makes actually an interesting point. He says old D&D is swords and sorcery, whereas WotC D&D is increasingly swords and superpowers. That's actually a pretty good analogy.
Agreed.
In fact, one of the videos I saw today from a young woman who was on the design team was talking about the Artifer class, and said that now I guess they have some type of cartographer subclass, which I have no clue how it could.
I guess they automatically map.
I'm going to throw a map at you.
Yeah, like what the heck does a cartographer do in D&D?
I don't know. Edward Kopp says 1985, Steve.
Yeah, so 2 years or 2 or 3 years before. 2 years before I was even a freshman. So,
Mr. Gunn says, Don, wait, player characters can die? Mind blown. I thought they were superheroes with a destiny. We're all chosen one. No, that's 5e and 5.5, I think. I want to.
Come on, man!
You're not going to be allowed to talk. And
Foogly, you'd be proud of what AI I doth brought forth.
Grandma wants brains. Exactly. What's wrong with zombies and the undead? But I think, again, it is always trying to. The comment earlier by somebody was people, I think it was you, Steve, who said they worry more about being offended, than they do about playing the game or something.
Yeah, they're not in it to have fun. They want to troll everybody and make everybody's lives miserable because their lives are miserable. So it's like, hey, share the poison.
You're talking about like Clownfish TV, who Hovermill's hooked up with.
Yeah, but who gives a shit about Karens? Honestly.
I guess the thing is, that's the beautiful thing about it is that as I am DM, if you want to start acting like a Karen, your lifespan as a player character has just reached about 3 turns.
Yep.
Because I can very easily get you to either quit or die. Preferably, I get you to quit so I don't feel as bad.
Oh no, I like die. I like
just kill them off. Yeah, just kill them off. I was watching Conan, an ARPG stream where the players regarded saving the damsels in distress scenarios as problematic. I noped right after that. Okay, first of all, damsel in distress, and I'm going to get in trouble here. Women in bikini chainmail with axes. That's old-fashioned D&D, and I know it offends many, many people. And I am a father of 4 daughters, and and Steve knows my daughters personally. Steve, are my daughters opinionated modern young ladies?
Yes.
Very much so. And I am married still to my wife. Trust me, lack of estrogen in my house is not lacking. Okay? But they're not offended by that kind of stuff.
Well, they're secure in who they are. That's the whole thing, right? If you're secure in who you are and what you believe, then not much offends you. It's the insecure that get offended. My personal.
Well, here's something that's been a big blow up lately, not just in the gaming world that I've seen, but like in the anime world, is you see all of these series and stuff where you get the hot super chick and everything, and she's wearing like boob mail and panty mail, and that's pretty much it. She's pretty much naked and got this big sword, and everybody's over there going like, yeah, and it's like, okay, real combat, you're going to survive about 2 seconds with that small amount of armor. The ones that are realistic are the ones where you see them out there, they look like a 2-legged tank with a sword. I mean, like, now that's more realistic, and that I have more appreciation for. The rest is just, eye candy and just unrealistic.
Rob Conley says, speaking as a GURPS referee since 1989, I have to say it is just easier to get going with different editions of D&D due to the variety of aids, supplements, and products available. Exactly, Rob. You are 1,000% correct in my eyes. On my, because that's
Rob
the nice
Conley's
thing about
got
it.
good third-party publishing.
Yeah, and for people, just as a quick side note, honestly, go to DriveThruRPG, look up Bat in the Attic Games. That's Rob's game company. He has made a book on sandbox RPG playing that is second to none. Buy it. Expensive. Help the guy out. Trust me, you won't regret it one bit. It is an excellent.
And if you're a cheap fuck, download Black Marsh. It's free. It is the best example of an OSR sandbox you're ever going to find. It is an OSR classic.
Yep.
Yeah. So,
but don't be a cheap fuck. Sit there. I know you're a disorder.
If you are.
But the thing is, buy something if you're going to go to it. Help a small creator out. I mean that. Base D&D memes and shenanigans says the D&D fan base seems to be improving as it seems to be solidifying against all the woke injections. D&D is to tabletop what Band-Aids are to adhesive bandages. And then his brother graduated. Edward Kopp says, my brother graduated in 88. Edward Kopp said, did you have Miss Noonan for an education planner? I think that was for you, Steve. Miss Noonan.
Name doesn't ring a bell, but then again, I don't remember a lot of people's names from high school. So,
gotcha. Terry R says, for me, Castles and Crusades, Adventures Dark and Deep, Amazing Adventures in the Arcanum. Yes, and by the way, side note, Adventures Dark and Deep, which is Joe Block's game, will be at WizardCon. He just actually today set up, I believe, 4 or 5 Adventures Dark and Deep games.
Yeah, I love Joe Block's material.
Yeah, he puts out some. In fact, his orc book is trending #1 right now on DriveThruRPG.
Awesome.
Yes.
Also, before we run out of time to hit Edward Cope's question, he says, who will be at WizardCon? I will. Don will. What about you two guys? You will? Okay.
I can't go.
Okay. So 3 out of 4. We'll forget the 4th guy.
He lives a little far away. I mean, Tom lives in Maine. Like, is it northern?
Oh, that's a short drive, man.
Well, it's a drive, but we have a new.
It's only 15 hours. Jeez.
Yeah. We still have older kiddos in college. It's just can't do it.
Rob Conley says, having played D&D 5e and OD&D in the form of Swords and Wizardry, is that in terms of how grounded it is there a little difference if you are judicious in the use of optional rules like multiclassing? Yes. Let's see here. He says you probably have a lot of common connections.
Probably.
Orc lives matter. There's no lives that matter when it comes to orcs. They kill everything. Edward Kopp says, my wife loves cheesecakes and sexy women and pulp fantasy. And also, Base D&D meme says, women who judge bikini male never complain about Tarzan loincloth. Bingo! Right there. Not a problem, Rob. You deserve it. You put out some damn good, fine game product. That's for sure.
Yeah. Amen.
WizardCon also is on sale as a result. GM Days. So see, bonus. Go there now and pick a copy of it up because it's on sale. And Rock Comedy says, I'll be at WizardCon, be entering my events this weekend. Yes, and good. I'm glad you got your notification. And let's switch gears real quick before. Let me just real quickly hit the last of these couple of things. Okay, moving on. Let's talk a few minutes before Eric has to go. Eric was like, "Good, I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it. I'm gonna miss it." Oh, damn it! He remembered it in time.
That's okay. Listen.
Tabletop.
Go ahead. Let's do it.
Tabletop events.
Tabletop events.
Tabletop events.
TTE.
Now, yes, that's right. I am sorry, but I am not a fan of that website. I'm not a fan of, although they answer your technical support questions fast, A plus on that. They tend to not answer, in my opinion. They just like to give you the link to their help page, which isn't worth a damn. And as I recall, Eric, I think you explained this once. If you can explain it, it was not originally designed for what it's being used for, correct?
Oh, actually, it wasn't me that explained it. Who was
Who
it?
was that?
Was it? You know, well, I'm not sure if it was Mike.
Was it Bad Mike?
Or was it might have been Jim.
No, I think it was Bad Mike.
It could have been Bad Mike.
But tabletop events was not designed for what it's doing right now. It was originally for, what was it for? Does anyone remember?
I think it was like for scheduling, like wargaming or events, something like that. So it's not made for tables that have 6 to 8, 10 players. Wargaming tables generally have 2 to 4, 2 to 3. So
and it was just not the variety.
Yeah.
Well, although once you can get through all these learning curves with it, I think tabletop events, like the way Steve at TotalCon explained it to me and my wife when we were up in the TotalCon convention suite upstairs, is when he broke it open in front of me, like he said, he goes, once you get everything all ironed out, next year you just basically hit clone, and it kind of like transfers everything from your existing game, do all your editing. Well, the problem with that is that the site, I don't believe, works very well to begin with. It's very cumbersome. It instead of being a very simple step to do something, it's a 3-4 step process.
Agreed.
And I'll give you an example. You have to go and you have to create a badge for your special guests. Very simple sounding, right? So you create your badge for special guest, and then you have to go into supplies and then buy those badges from supplies at $2 a piece. No big deal. Well, what you do is you enter the person's first and last name and their email, and then you hit submit, and it says badge number, as an example, 10 car, badge number 90. Eric, 10 Car's Tavern, and there's Eric's email. Does Eric get the email, the badge? No. Why not? Well, I entered all the special guests, and there they are. They all line up right next to that page, and you see badge 90, 91, 92, 93. You're like, oh, everybody and all that. So I message tabletop events. Their first response is, oh, they've got their badge notifications because their emails are correct. No, they didn't. So I emailed her back more frustrated, and the response was, and basically she kind of mocked me, and I had to then, the instruction was, go back into each badge
and
edit, then go down to where and enter their email and erase and enter their email again and resubmit, and that's when people start getting their badges.
Fire the dev.
That's right. Now, this is more the kind of development that one down there did with the kid's social media website.
Yeah, I'm an actual dev and a Linux admin, so I can talk on the technical side of that.
Yeah, he thinks that everybody should know technical side. Trust me, me and him used to sit there and have quite the conversations when we were doing the children's social media website, didn't we, Steve?
Oh yeah, but it's so easy to understand.
You know what his most common response was? Well, if they don't like it, they don't have to sign up. So yeah, that's my 5-minute gripe about tabletop events. I just think that tabletop events, what they really should do, and it's not as hard as I think they think it is. I think they should just basically on the side start from scratch and develop a nice, simplified, well done convention site. Well, since they won't do it, it's being done anyways. So, because I'm pissed off now. I'm not joking. I'm so mad at that site because everything is like that. Everything is a battle. Everything is a multi-weird step. And what they did was, and the reason why this is because what they did is they took the existing site and instead of fixing everything and making it for what it's supposed to be, they just tried to cobble it all together. They tried to cobble fixes.
And from a player perspective of somebody attending a con, I've found tabletop events to be just head shoved up their butt, and they're dying of apocalypse because they're not getting enough oxygen. Yeah. It's just difficult to use. There's a friggin' learning curve, and I hate learning curves.
Well, what they need to do is they need to go pony up the money, get themselves a UI developer, somebody who really knows the front end, and fix the front end, because I don't think the back end necessarily needs fixing. Probably needs a little bit of fixing, but the first person they need to talk to is a UI dev, period.
Well, that's the problem, the user interface. And I'm talking about there's two kinds of users. You have the convention organizer, then you have the convention goer.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And they really need to take a look at both ways that it's being done. And the problem that I have here was this. They used it for so long and they understand it so well, they don't think there's a problem with it.
Exactly. That's one of the big problems I see with a lot of sites is I understand it, but nobody else does, then it means you're doing it wrong. I don't care if you understand it inside and out.
Mr. Gunn says, Don, I'm a web designer, not a shoemaker. I'll reach out to you, Mr. Gunn, and have a chat with you. Rob says, I'm just glad I can copy my event as a template from ShireCon. Yeah, I mean, you can do that in the space, but Tina says, Lake, the next time you help with, just give me a heads up. My favorite ice cream joint is over 40 minutes away. You and Don have at it. She's getting the hell out of the house. She remembers.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually...
We were communicating via Yahoo Messenger. No, was it Pigeon or Yahoo Messenger back in 13?
I think it was both, and we also did AIM and a couple others.
Yeah. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I'm actually a really good back-end developer, front-end UI, not so much. That's where we had a lot of the clashing because I struggle with front-end UI.
Yeah. And see, that's the thing. I mean, I think that they have, they're the market. There's where it's at. You go to tabletop events. They're the game in town. There's a few other choices out there, but you have to purchase them. I mean, they're not like you sign up for their service. What?
I think Eric's got to go.
Yeah.
What, you kick him out 2 minutes early?
No, it's 9. But
it is 9 o'clock.
It's 9 o'clock.
Yep.
Edward Kopp says, United States Navy trained me to work on the most advanced weapon system in the world, and I can't figure out how to use Roll-20. Exactly.
But, great comment.
I'm going to repeat down below. All those sites, all those YouTube channels.
Yeah, please go to
each, every one.
Yes, please
sign up.
Yes, go ahead and just hit subscribe. Help us out a lot. It's 9 o'clock. We have been bending everybody's ear. We've had a very active chat group. Thank you everybody much for coming in and everything. Again, I think it just, as busy as we were just talking about 5e and 5.5, I think that shows the emotion that people have, the love for the game that they have, and how deeply affecting D&D is to people. Mark Hagert says, and thank you for tuning in, Mark. He says, if you were transported to a world of D&D, FF or World of Warcraft, etc., and all fantasy games had to make a perfect character as yourself, what would you choose? Race, class, multi-class, prestige, weapons, etc.
I would say when my Mage Fall comes out, check out Rogue Dragon. That you'll figure it out real fast.
Excuse me. Fighter, AD&D, fighter magic user. That's what I would do, or fighter cleric, one of the two.
Super Mage.
Super Mage. What do you play? 5e? Go ahead, Tom. Sorry.
Biosocial, Yazarian, and Star Frontiers.
Ooh.
Oh, I knew Star Frontiers was going to be yours.
See, I'd have to be Murrayland. If you remember Murrayland, the quasi gods, whatever they had, because he had a 6-shooter, so I could stay true to my training, and have an appropriate weapon. There, wouldn't be a paladin. I don't think I can quite make paladin, but
I never liked the paladin class. I always thought it was a horrible class, but that's just me.
I would like to play a fighter who was a defrocked paladin kicked out of, because I was kicked out of seminary.
I played that at Gen Con, and I won a $5 gift certificate and got on to second round. That's as far as I got.
Yeah, paladins are just guys in big heavy plate armor and long pointy toothpicks.
Yeah, if I don't have a whole event,
the thing is,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Everybody likes their class. Fugly likes the bard. I don't like the bard as a class, but people do. But again, D&D is, and then again, that is exactly what I think D&D took off the way it did, as popular as it has become, and why D&D has stuck around for 50 plus years now is because of just that. It can be anything you want to you as a player or you as a DM, and there's where the magic of D&D is, no matter the edition that you play, I think.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, guys. I think it's time to end this. Eric has his speakeasy in Discord, and me and Steve have to talk about developing a new tabletop event site. Steve's going to be gone when I get done. So everybody in chat, thank you very much for tuning in. We appreciate everybody talking. Rob, real quick, so we got people going. 9th level Dwarven Fighter, AD&D. Rob Conley says, play one of my Paladins, Mitra, or Myrmidon set, and you'll change your mind. Scott Mulder says, and Scott will have a last comment, claustrophobic dwarf with a Napoleon complex. There we go. So, everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. We will be back next Thursday. Yep. Good Lord knows what we're going to be talking about, but probably getting more into publishing. We didn't get into that tonight.
Okay.
And getting into the ins and outs of publishing and how to do it properly. So, I am Don from the Vlog of Many Things, and my compatriots and me, we'll see you guys next week.